How to get $1 million business loan, even without collateral and even with bad credit. I'm going to show you all the ways possible for you to get not only this amount and more, but also less. But before I get started, my name is Michael from Viral Funding Solutions, and I come out with content like this on all across this channel on all small business loans, building business credit, credit repair, and so much more. So if you have not subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so and click that bell notification icon right next to it so you do not miss any future videos I will be coming out with. Let me get right into this. Now, to get $1 million business loan, there's so many misconceptions out there. People only think that they have to offer some form of real estate. That's the only thing that's required, or it's the only type of asset. But there are more ways. It has to be one. If we're talking about collateral, yes, real estate is in the mix, as well as high valued equipment. Now, it depends on the type of service you're going into, which I will get into some of these in a moment. Maybe you've heard of the SBA loans, the unsecured secured term loans, the merchant cash advances of the world, and so forth. And other ways, if you know you can qualify for traditional banking, that's what I would recommend you do first. And if you can, then there are also online banking loan solutions that I can help you get aligned with the right lenders with. And all of this information in due time will be down below in the description. There will also be a questionnaire form you can fill out where you simply fill out some simple funding details. It'll land in my email inbox, where then I will analyze it, evaluate it, and give you a proper, thorough response that's individualized and customized to your needs, very well broken down. And again, you submit that as a questionnaire, not an application. I will look at it and respond back to you, and it'll land back in your email inbox. So all that down below. Now, real estate. You know the banks are asking for collateral, some form of real estate, and there are other purposes. But over here, it has to be high value real estate, commercial property, and there are more details that we would look at within that property, the appraisal, the market value, etc. And then you also have equipment you can use to get $1 million business loan if that's the direction you want to go into, if you have that. And if you don't, again, stick with me. I'll show you ways you don't have to use collateral that are very beneficial. So high value real estate, commercial property, commercial properties, equipment, and so forth. Those two can factor in. You also have inventory. And then what brings me to my next point are account receivables. With these, you can give up, it's in another sense, invoice financing or invoice factoring. They're somewhat different, but underneath the same categories. And you can give up unpaid invoices in exchange for a loan. So you can give this to a factoring company that then will evaluate how much you're giving up and give you as much, if not more, to what you're giving. And that can help you collateralize for the amount of funding you need. And those usually bring some of the lowest interest in the industry. So again, accounts receivables, that's where you're giving up unpaid invoices in exchange for business funding, and that can help you as equivalent to getting the 1 million as what you're giving up. Again, the real estate, the equipment, the inventory, accounts receivables, stocks and bonds. Sometimes you may have to mix a few of these things depending on the service, the lenders that you're going to. But if you're going through the SBA loan, not the idle loan, which everybody I'm sure knows about, that right now you cannot go submit a new application. It's only for people that are in the process, maybe haven't gotten any yet, or sort of waiting, or are in reconsideration, and are going through these phases of getting more within it. Now, that's the equation side of being able to get $1 million, is by offering up collateral. Again, you have real estate, accounts receivables, which can bring you down to some of the lowest in the industry, as much as up to 2%. But again, it depends on the type of service you're going after. Maybe all SBA loans don't require you to do a account receivables, and it's more based on high value real estate. Maybe sometimes it's a part of a down payment and real estate on top of that. So you have to factor those few pieces together. And what you can get guaranteed up to, let's say with an SBA 7A loan, it might be up to 85% for anything 150,000 and below. But anything over 150,000, you can usually get guaranteed up to 75%, and in some cases 50%, just depending on what SBA 7A loan type that is. So there are a variety of them, like the SBA 7A standard up to 5 million, the small business loans up to about 350,000, more or less. There are other ones, the express loan the cap line where you can get a line of credit. But that's all great and all. But what if you don't have collateral to offer up, or you do, just don't want to give up that precious asset or those assets that you've worked so hard for? And you're asking yourself, well, great, what's another way for me to get the 1 million? Well, before I say that, I do want to break up here and say, well, yeah, you can get up from 10% to 50% of your annual gross sales. So to get $1 million, you want to be in the ballpark of doing 10 million per year. Let me say that again, 10 million per year to be even at the lowest of the 10% of that to get $1 million. So if we did some numbers and we got into 2 million, 3 million, you kind of have a rough idea of what you would need to be doing annually. It's not net, this is in gross. So keep that on the back of your mind. Now, if you don't have any collateral or do, but just don't want to give it up, this is going to be very influential, and I'm going to give you some pro tips after what I say. So we can usually get you $1 million if you're doing at least $1 million or less. So to get $1 million, you want to be doing that, if not at least 500,000 on average per month. And that is based off of cash flow alone. So this is not where collateral comes in. We can just look at your cash flow, your revenue on a monthly basis. What are you averaging? What is your lowest amount within the last 3 or 4 to 6 plus months? And then we can make a determination. And we look through, I'll give you some of the documents in a moment, but we can look through these bank statements, usually 3 months, sometimes 4 up to 6 months, the more funding you can qualify for, sometimes over 150,000. Sometimes we just need 3 months, and sometimes we just need 4 to 6 plus months. But it's very standard that we look at your recent tax return, just one, and then we will also look at your last year to dates, current year to dates, profit and loss in a balance sheet. That is very common. That's what you'll see with these alternative services, as well as if you were to go through the SBA loans. But with the SBA 7A, 504 loans, and some of the other ones out there, I'm sure you know this, or maybe you don't, but you would be required to do at least 2 years of tax returns, 2 years of personal tax returns, a possible credit history report, year-to-date financials, profit and loss balance sheet, and so forth. It's much more of a strenuous process than you may believe. I have a numerous amount of owners right now who would qualify for an SBA 7A loan. I've spoken to many of them today already, but I've also illustrated the point that that's not the only option that they need. They can also qualify for, if they can go through a traditional bank. We have online banking loan solutions that can help. It just depends on the type of funds you're needing. And maybe we have an alternative through private lenders. It could be a bit of a more medium to higher rates or an interest. Although you don't stay in debt for much longer, you don't have to continue paying on the interest. You get principal and interest, but you pay more towards the principal than the interest, which is an advantage. And then you have, again, ways to stay more positive in debt, and you can pay it off much faster, maybe higher of a monthly repayment. But you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, does my benefit exceed the repayment? And if it does, you'll be able to move forward with it, and you'll be able to justify that. So back on the terms of cash flow. So without the collateral, you can use just based off of cash flow. You want to be doing around $1 million just to get that, or around 500,000 or so, because we can get you 75% of that, up to 200%, or sometimes up to 150%. So sometimes more than 500,000 would be required in cash flow. So about maybe 750,000 would be more appealing. The closer, again, you can get to 1 million, the better. If you're over that, even better, because let's say you're doing 1.5 million, and I have people who are doing 2, 3, 4, 5 plus million and more per month. If they said I wanted to get 1 million, the chances of them getting that would be much far superior than somebody who's doing about 500,000 or 750,000, because we can get you close to it. But if you're already on it or over it, it's better. And what we also like to evaluate, like I said, those bank statements. And if that's a point where you're getting 1 million, we would want to get on a call with an underwriter at least 1 to 2, sometimes 3 times more, because we're dealing with a lot more money. We really want to understand the organization of your business, the way it is properly set up, and if it can handle this amount in the future, because we're going to give you all this amount of time to be able to pay it back. We want to see just some projections of where you're going what it'll be used towards, what you believe your ROI will be here. And so that's very standard. We look less at the profit. Sometimes you'll see at least a 10% profit made if we're talking about SBA loans and some other type of loans as well. But in this, we're basically just we're looking at cash flow, the cash deposits, what's your daily bank balance, what are you withdrawing, the transaction, starting, ending bank balances, amount of deposits. That's very important for us to know. And again, at that point, with the bank statements, about 3 months, sometimes 4 plus, at that amount of money, or even at times up to 12 months, then it also depends on the industries too. And we'll also look at the recent tax return and year-to-date profit and loss and balance sheets. So that's very common. What you have to understand outside when we're done with this video is to get that 1 million, you can get 10 to 15% of your annual gross sales. And if we're looking at it from a cash flow perspective, being about 500,000, 750,000 and above $1 million, would increase the chances of you getting that amount. And some pro tips here that I want to leave you with. If you don't get the full amount you want all at once, that's about business owners all the time, and they don't seem to understand this. Maybe they missed what I shared with them, but you don't have to get it all up at once, or do you? You have to ask yourself that. Can I give up collateral? Do I want to give up collateral? Does it make more sense not for me to hold on to it, but will I get the full amount? And a lot of people, when they don't get it, they give up and say, well, I didn't get everything I wanted. The repayment is just too high. They say, oh, well, the interest is too much if you're going through alternative lenders. It's not all about the interest. It's about the repayment. And I get people like that all the time who go, well, the interest is too high. Well, did you even look at the repayment? No. Let's look at the repayment. Let's look it over. And if $1 million looks like it's too much, then let's drop it down to maybe 500,000. Maybe let's drop it down to 150,000 to begin with. So that's a pro tip, and that will drop your repayments. You can even cut things by half and even more, 75% plus. I've seen in a lot of cases. What you should know too is that if you go through these alternative lenders with like hybrid cash advances, which is a strong one that I recommend, you can take a minimum of, let's say, usually 150,000. And not have to supply extra documentation, so you have to wait another week or so to get those funds. Instead, you can take 150,000 now, use as much of that as you can. Let's say you got 150,000 paid over 18 months at a 1.23 total payback. So 150 times 1.23 is what you're expected to pay back, and you get 18 months. Awesome. Not everybody gets the most amount of terms, so it has to be looking like a clean profile to get you the most. And with that, you pay off the most of it, over 50% of it, in about 45 to 65 days or so. We can look back at getting you more funds, getting you another 150,000 or even more. And when you pay it fully off, maybe we can get you 300,000, then it gets you more. And then the amount, maybe you didn't get approved for $1 million to begin with, you got approved for 700,000. But when you build that, you're getting in, you're getting out, 700,000 becomes 800,000, 900,000. Then you get approved for more funding. So this is what's called relationship building with your lenders, the underwriters, and myself. And so a lot of people get discouraged when I share with them that, hey, if you didn't get all the funds you wanted all at once, here's something we can do. We can look at getting you at least, if you got approved for 600,000, well, we're getting you that amount. You don't have to offer up any kind of collateral. Now, if you feel like you'd get approved for the SBA 7A loan or one more of those bank term loan solutions and so forth, but you can give up collateral, real estate, high value, equipment of high value, inventory. I don't know all the times, maybe not all accounts receivables, there's a certain category for that. You have to think about whether you can or can't, and you want to give it up, as opposed to, do I really need all of that at once? When I ask people, do you really need all that at once? They go, no. Well, how about we look at getting you the minimum of 150,000 without supplying extra documentation? And then you can come back and get more funds, get another 150,000 when you need it, or get another 300,000. Or perhaps we add a line of credit and we can get you a lot more funds all at once. So it's all about being resourceful and really understanding that there are multiple ways of getting $1 million. So just to recap, how to get $1 million business loan: you have collateral, high value real estate, equipment that's high value. It can be low, medium value as well, but we lead in with real estate. And then you also have inventory, stocks and bonds, a few other sources as well. You can use accounts receivables to drop your interest rate, and that there's a certain category meant for that. It's not always through SBA. But if you want to do no collateral, we're just going to look at cash flow. And I help out in all of these cases. And so if you would like to learn how to get business funding and what you can get approved for and what else is out there, then what I recommend you do is you fill out that questionnaire form that I'll leave for you down below in the description. It's very simple, fast, and straightforward. I'll get connected with you. I'll send you an email response back. I won't harass or heckle you at all. It's very straightforward, and I'll be able to help you along the way, get you to understand what your best funding options are, whether you wanted $1 million, less, more, what are those options on the table. But please be responsive. I'm not just another company. I work on my own business, and so I'm not in a facility of 100 people. So I take the time through these profiles to go through them very diligently and make sure I have all the information and all the material correctly. And when I respond back, please be considerate. Again, I'm not just another person that you would just submit something to and just, just lets it go. But let it go in the sense of if I try to respond back, there's no feedback, so I don't know what's happening. But that'll conclude everything from this video. I appreciate you for being here today. And if you got value out of this, please give it a thumbs up. If you feel other people will get value out of it, please share it with them. And if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. And for all other content where you can go get started on getting up to $2 million incredibly fast funding, even same day instant approval up to $25,000 and even up to $100,000 in a line of credit and more, then look down below for those review videos, all the content. But again, if you have not filled out that questionnaire form, that's what you'll want to do. And again, I'm here to educate you in every step of the way. Thank you. Talk to you soon.